Hi, it's Jordan. Today, I'll be talking to you about good and bad seasons. See, on this journey, what we all have the ability to understand is there's going to be good and bad seasons. With these good and bad seasons, we have the ability to learn, grow, and prosper. We have to understand that when we are in this life, constantly, it will fluctuate in many various different directions. We have the ability to understand fluctuations within society. Sometimes we're going to have good seasons, good times, and sometimes we're going to have bad seasons and bad times. But the importance of it is learning, understanding ourselves, and growing through it. If we don't learn, understand, and grow through it, how are we going to use these experiences in our life to further ourselves on a higher platform and a higher plateau? We have the ability to understand that in this life, everything is a learning experience, and we have to use these experiences to grow further. If we didn't have a life without experiences, then how are we supposed to grow? We have to understand the importance of our lives. We have to understand the importance of the time that we use within our lives. That time that we use within our lives is very much so valuable. Every time that we waste time, we're not furthering ourselves, furthering our environments, and furthering growth. And we have to understand the importance of being aligned with the right things in society, especially in these times where deception and illusion occurs. We have to understand that. Only we can understand that. And it's best that we take time within our lives to really look at that and really look at how we can further our lives and further ourselves through productivity. Oftentimes, we don't understand that time is going and time is ticking. We may waste days, weeks, months, and years, but the reality of it is time is constantly going. Time is constantly going, and we have to use our time and best efforts to align ourselves to positivity and the right things within society. We can spend years wasting time on the wrong things. And if we waste years on the wrong things, we're never going to get that time back. The importance of our lives is understanding what we can use our time for and not waste our time. When we're wasting our time, we're not furthering our lives, we're not furthering the lives around us, we're not doing nothing of value. And it's important that we do things of value within society. Even the minuscule things are important. And we may not think it's important, but it is important. And whether it be in the past, the present, or even the future, we have the ability to align ourselves with the right things. But do we want to align ourselves with the right things? That's the important question that we have to ask ourselves, because oftentimes we don't align ourselves with the right things. And if we do align ourselves with the right things, it's after a long period of actually understanding that we were supposed to be in aligned to the positive things from the get go, but we didn't decide to do that. And this can be in place for people, places, and things amongst society. And in the past, we might have not aligned ourselves with the right people, places, or things within society. And we waste many various time just aligning ourselves with things that aren't conducive to our growth. And at the end of the day, in the present, in the future, we have to know these things, evaluate ourselves, and understand these things and move forward with it and take these lessons into account. Because sometimes the lessons that we learned in the past, there may be places in our lives to test us again. And either we may pass those tests or fail those tests. And it's a constant trial and error within this life, within everything. It's trial and error. And we have to understand that. And it's easier said than done because life is about trial and error. But when you know the tests and the trials and tribulations that you may go through, then you start to evaluate yourselves far much more deeper. And then you start to learn about yourself in a far much more deeper state, which you can endure. Because I'm pretty sure there's many various situations that we all have been through in the past or even in the present. And those situations that happened in the past was far much more harder than the present. And we were able to use these situations in the present and understand these situations in the present in order to further us, in order to help us grow, in order to help us learn ourselves. So, within everything, we have to understand that there's going to be good and bad seasons. And within every season, know and understand that God has a plan for you. God has a plan for all of us. And sometimes we may be lost, alone, confused mentally, physically, spiritually, or even financially. And what we have to understand in this journey and in this path is no matter what we go through with these four elements, may not be dealing with anything financially, but you may be dealing with something spiritually, mentally, or physically. Or you may not be dealing with something physically, but you may be dealing with something spiritually, mentally, and financially. Or you may not be dealing with something mentally, and you may be dealing with something physically, spiritually, or financially. And we have to understand that within everything that we deal with in this life, you may not be dealing with something spiritually, but you may be dealing with something mentally, physically, or financially. And it's important that we understand and know what we're dealing with within this life because on all those four cylinders, we have to understand that there's something that we all can work on within this life. And it's best that we understand what we can work on in this life. Every human being within this life has something that they can work on. We just have to understand it. We just have to evaluate. We just have to figure it out. And in this life, it's best that we understand and figure it out early because with time, what we have to understand is we're only getting older. And the older that you get, the more harder it is to replace bad habits. See, when you're young, you can replace bad habits. You can fix bad habits. You can work on bad habits. But when you're far much older, you're stuck in your ways. And what we have to understand is we cannot get to this point in this life where we're stuck in our ways, where we don't understand the importance of learning and growing, the importance of understanding self. And only we can do those things within this life. And scary thing about it is if we don't understand this, then we will fall victim to the many dangers within society that we shouldn't even be a part of. And it's important that we look at our lives from a perspective of importance. Because you see, many times we don't look at our lives from importance and we do not care about ourselves, but we have to understand this. And oftentimes we understand this through experience and we understand this through learning and we understand the value that we want within our lives and within ourselves. And only we can want these things for ourselves. It's important that we look at these things on a deeper level and perspective because we all have the ability to heal. We all have the ability to learn. We all have the ability to grow. But do you want to? That's the thing. So within this time period and within this season, no one understand your life. No one understand that you have a life to live. And no one understand that whether you're in a good season or a bad season, God has a plan for your life. God has a plan for all of our lives. And whether you're an individual who may believe in God or not, know and understand that God is playing a bigger role within your life that you might not even know or understand at this point. And understand that if you do believe in God, that God is playing a bigger role within your life that you may know or may not know and understand. So at the end of the day, know and understand your life and know and understand what season you're in. And know that if you're in a good season, understand and identify the blessing of that good season. And if you're in a bad season, also know and identify the blessing within that season, because throughout all seasons, there's always a blessing within that season. And we have to understand that blessing within every season that we're in. So, with that being said, I want to leave you with this scripture, and I hope that this scripture can help you on your path, your mission, and your journey. Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. A time for everything. There is a season for everything, a time appointed for everything, and a time for every delight and event or purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up as loss, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear apart and a time to sew together, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. I hope and understand that your life is important on this mission, this daily journey and path that you've been placed on, and know and understand that within time, you will understand your mission, your path, and your purpose that you've been placed here on this life today. I want to thank you for watching. Peace.